Hello.
Ooh, we were almost late.
It's time to spend some money.
We were
We've
almost
got
so
Nick's
late
credit
that
card.
Ryan didn't even have time to get dressed for the stream. Look at those muscles, man.
Got it
Oh my
out.
gosh. Whoa. Oh man. You know
so
it's
hot
summer when yeah, for a Canadian actually moving down south, that probably is a huge difference in temperature, isn't it?
It's pretty warm.
Yeah, I bet so.
I never thought about that, but that's a great point. All right. Today we're doing Ryan's idea. This was a really interesting idea. I think it was Ryan's idea. Or was it yours, Cameron?
I think Cameron had the idea. I set the budget.
It's
Something like that.
possible. Yeah. So we'll go with
The
that.
idea was, let's just say you had $1,000 for each speaker. So $2,000 total to make one pair of speakers. What would you build and why?
I'd
I
probably
like
save
these
my
ones.
money and build the overnight sensations.
And then pocket the rest.
Yeah, put the rest into my checking account, buy groceries.
Or a shirt.
I do the groceries.
No, you know what? I thought this was a good idea because $1,000 is actually, I think, a really hard budget for each
It
speaker.
is. Yeah. Going through this process, it was like, you think, wow, that's so much money. I can just build the most rad thing. And it's like the worst amount of money.
It's a
doesn't-
tweener.
Yeah, it doesn't like uncap you, and yet it's enough money that you really have high expectations. It's got to be good because I mean, $1,000, it's not a small amount of money, but yeah, it doesn't unleash everything for you.
I really
Yeah,
got the. Go ahead. I got paralysis when it's like trying to divvy it up between the drivers because you're like, okay, I have $1,000, and that seems like such a large number, and then you're like, so do I want to do a really nice tweeter? Because woofers are fairly cheap. You can spend a lot of money on woofers, but you know that if you spend $50 per woofer and just gang them up like 6, do I want to go that route or do I want to go with a really nice single woofer and a decent tweeter? So there's a paralysis that happens for me where it's like that budget gets tough to make decisions.
So excited
Yeah.
to see that you're here, Kevin, with us. I'm excited to hear if you guys have any ideas as well. I have some crazy ideas I don't think anyone else would do. Although after actually kind of discussing a little bit ahead, everyone did almost the same thing as I did, which I thought was going to be different. I thought was weird. I mean, we don't know what we did, but just talking about it, we all said, oh, we kind of stood towards high efficiency. Although I do have a hi-fi build as well. So without further ado, let's start talking about anyone have one that they really want to share?
I'm putting Ryan on the spot first because I want to see.
Okay. All right. I'll start. I'll go. So the first build I came up with was probably what I would do with this money. It's fairly practical. It is a stereo system, but I do lean towards home theater. So anyways, I picked the 15-inch paper cone SB Audience.
Oh yeah.
I should share my screen. Okay, sorry guys, this is clumsy.
So the SB Audience is the PA brand for SB Acoustic, for those that aren't familiar with that.
Yeah.
Really nice manufacturer.
Oh yeah, I love their stuff. All right, let's share
it's
your
like-
screen.
It's $250. Can you see
Wow.
that now?
Yeah, I'm going to hide the chat for a minute so that we can
See it a little better.
see it a little bit better. Yeah, and blow it up.
Yeah. So it's $250, which isn't a lot of money when you have $1,000 per speaker. But obviously, this woofer is gonna want to pair with a compression driver and probably a beefy one at that. So
Now, how much is that?
$250.
$250, and you're just using one of those.
Yeah, just one?
Yeah, just one, just
Okay.
one.
Okay.
It's 15-inch. So it's gonna give you good bass. It's pretty darn efficient. Let's see. Can you see me scrolling down?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We can see everything you're doing.
Okay.
Well, on screen.
Let me
On screen.
let me close
On
some
screen.
tabs.
Does
So,
it tell you? Go ahead. Does it tell us how big
no.
of an enclosure you might need for this? What kind of volume you might be working with?
Probably did, but
It's okay. No.
yeah.
Some of
I
this.
looked at that stuff, but
Yeah,
forget
some of this
now.
is really just theory. Why were you doing this? Why? And I am curious about this 15-inch woofer. So why are you
just-
choosing this?
well, partly because I've never used it, Partly
Yeah.
because SB Acoustics has always been a spectacular buy for me. I've always had
Yeah.
really good luck from like the $30 little woofers to the more expensive stuff. It's always been very high quality. Um, the spec sheet kind of won me over. I mean, it's got really good bass extension. It's high efficiency, but it's not like screaming hot high efficiency like a lot of pro woofers where you lose all the bass and it's got lots of resonances and stuff like that. It's right in the sweet spot as far as I'm concerned. And for $250, that seemed like a really good price for a 15-inch woofer. I started by going straight to Acoustic Elegance website. And the TD15M, which I've had a pair of those before and I loved them, they're now $600 each.
Oh,
I was like, I don't think that's gonna work for me.
So what are you pairing this 15-inch woofer with?
Okay, so I think I have to reshare. Sorry.
$600 for a PA woofer. You better have a really good plan with how you're going to get the most out of that. I mean,
Yeah, it's a lot of money. I do miss them. They would have been fantastic to have, but that is how it is.
yeah.
Oh,
So-
Fatal Pro. Interesting, because I tried to stay away from Fatal Pro.
Oh, really?
Or not. No, I'm sorry. No.
You're
Scratch
thinking
that.
of someone else?
I was, and I was
Okay.
thinking. Yeah, I when I saw that, I saw PRV for some reason.
Okay.
No, you're good.
I have no this part of these builds. I was like, oh, I've never used this. I'd sure love to. I've never had the chance to. Well, I have worked with compression drivers that cost more than this, a lot more than this, but not often, right? It doesn't happen often. So when you
Sure.
get that kind of money, it's like, oh, I'd like to try something new. So this is a 1.4-inch exit. I think this is a 3-inch diaphragm. So
And
that's
how far does
that's-
that go down then?
yeah, I mean 3-inch diaphragm. That's a lot of meat, right? So
That's what it seems like. Yeah.
there isn't much info right here on this page, but anyways, this thing is going to easily cross at 1,000 hertz, probably even 900.
Yeah, it says 700 there, 7 to 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. Yeah, wideband 7 to 18,000. So I mean, no problem getting that 15-inch woofer to cooperate.
So you
And
could
then-
probably actually cross over even closer to 500 if you can get the right horn.
Yeah, maybe. I've got it.
I mean,
matched
for
up-
home theater, or I mean, home audio. I mean,
Yeah, for home audio, you can push these things. I mean, you think of what a 3-inch mid, like a cone mid, would do. You'd be
Yeah.
happy to use it down to 500 hertz. And you might have a little more excursion with the cone mid, but this should be able to handle very low frequencies. So I would put that with the Fatal Pro LTH 142 horn. I don't know if you could. I switched screens, but I don't think it shows up.
No, it didn't show up. So
Yeah.
you gotta just reshare it.
I got
This is why Ryan, or not Ryan. This is why Cameron was doing that ahead of time.
Yeah, the window share. Yeah, Ryan,
Ah.
your woofer actually extended up to like 1,200 hertz before there was
Hey.
any significant breakup. So you could actually
Siphonics Audio, good to see you, man. Hello from Sydney, Australia. That's amazing. I almost said Idaho. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree, Cameron. The woofer has a very wide bandwidth, and this compression driver has a very wide bandwidth. So yeah, I haven't used a Tractrix horn. I don't.
So
think.
this is literally just a two-way.
This is just a two-way. I mean, but I'm gonna
Wow.
easily get 40 hertz to 20,000 hertz, and it's gonna be screaming loud, and pretty high quality as far as I can tell. And this is what we were talking about, the budget. Like, it doesn't totally uncap your abilities here.
It really
so,
doesn't.
So I've already burned up $1,000 per speaker. Pretty nice parts, I think, but it's gone. Like a very nice Pro Audio two-way.
See, I think
Yeah.
I think you're right though. It is, and it's crazy. And when you go with a two-way like this, you have to worry about the horn. Like, where can the horn cross over? The
Yeah.
horn costs a lot. Like, that was $160 horn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
So let-
probably I looked at doing a 1-inch compression driver and a CEOS waveguide because I've been around since, well, Nick, you and I have both been around since the CEOS was being developed, and I am a big fan of that. I believe in oblate spheroid horns, but yeah, I just figured this one's made by Fatal Pro. I like that compression driver. I wanted to try it, so no big reason why I went with those parts other than they look really interesting. never used them before. I think it could really cover a lot of bandwidth for the money.
I'm gonna have to keep that compression driver in mind on a short list. It's obviously really, really expensive for a single driver, at least in my book. But the applications that you could get away with foregoing using a mid-range driver, just having, making up for that by paying a little more for your compression driver by crossing over that low is really appealing to me.
All right. I have a build that is different than yours in every single way.
Good, let's see it.
He means
Which is
worse.
why. No, well, maybe.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm not saying possibly, but I am curious now. Part of let me just say this. Part of doing this was, how can I make this like the cool factor, right? Like, if I have $1,000, I want this to be awesome. Like, I don't want this to be $1,000 and be like, yay, I built a two-way. And I don't mean that negatively, right? But I'm just like, if I have $1,000, I want more than a two-way. All right. Oh, when does the 15 start beaming? I didn't see that, Blake. That was a good question. It was like right around 900 hertz or so. I think we looked at maybe at 1.2, somewhere in that range.
It starts to pull apart at about 800 hertz. It really starts to pull apart at about 1200, 1300, like Cameron said. But that horn is going to hold constant directivity down to about 800 hertz.
Yeah, you'll be fine because the horn can cross, and this is always one of those things that I think people miss out on is when you cross over,
it blends.
Some of this has to do with the steepness of it, but it blends. Yes.
Yeah.
So let me show you my idea.
Let's see it.
I was thinking of you, Cameron, when I did this, so I hope you like it. All right, I'm going to start off. Actually, I'm going to start off with this horn. This is the HF94. It's by RCF. I actually thought of using this horn for a lot. It's a 1-inch or 1.4-inch adapter. So you can either use a 1-inch or a 1.4-inch compression driver with it.
It's
a 90 by 40. It's the same price as that other horn. It's $160.
You have one of these, don't you?
I do. And it loads down to 500 hertz. So it gives you a lot more options when we're doing it. The problem is finding a compression driver that can go down to 500 hertz and play well.
Yeah.
But I found one, I think. This is the Eminence N314T. It's the titanium version of the N314X. It does have a 3-inch voice coil. And it does have a 550 hertz resonance, but I think we could cross over between 700 hertz, maybe even more if we can tame it. It all kind of depends. They say a crossover point as low as 800 hertz. I know the TechStream, for example, Javed actually used the TechStream version of it, and he crossed over at 500 hertz for a home theater style build. So I think we could probably do that.
They actually say there, and this is like kind of an industry standard. I don't know if it's a standard technically, but they actually specify there with 12 dB per octave. So if you do better than that, you can probably go lower than 800 hertz.
Well, and they're expecting you to throw 3,000 watts or whatever.
A lot of power, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you look at
it,
conservative. I mean, it looks really good down to, was this about 550 hertz or so? So I think we could cross over in the 500 to 700 hertz range. Now, the
is that in a waveguide?
Yeah, that's in. They tell you which
it'll be one
waveguide it is. Yeah, it's a footnote, but I can't remember which one it is. It doesn't matter. All right, so that horn, that compression drive. Now, this horn is kind of cool because this horn is a 90 by 40. You just have to basically turn it 90 degrees to change the directivity. And if you see these cutouts on this horn, these cutouts are designed for a 10-inch driver to go right up against it so that you can get maximum MTM style design out of it.
Oh, he's doing two woofers.
I am. No, 2 minutes. Wait,
no, he just does one.
It gets better. It gets better. So the Celestion TF 1020, they're only $85. I've used these before, and I really like them. Easily crossover to where I want. They don't go down like crazy low. Think like if you poured them 80, sealed 120-ish, whatever, you're not going to go crazy low, so you need a subwoofer. But we saved money by only going with these $85 drivers, so that's $170. So now I want to add the subwoofer portion. The Dayton PSS 555-8 21-inch subwoofer. Problem is this does not go very low. So it needs a horn. But if you put in a horn-loaded subwoofer, you should be able to get it down to 20 hertz. But I don't want to use one. I saved my money. I should be able to use 2 of these in the building.
Okay.
So
That go loud.
subwoofer, mid, compression driver in the middle. So woofer, WMTMW. And they would be, I call them the deafenings because they should be able to get
But
crazy
you're putting
loud.
2 of these in each speaker, or these are separate?
Yes, in
horn
each
subwoofers?
speaker. No, 2 horns in each one. So the horns are like,
Do
Let
you
me see,
have
I did
enough
that-
money? You don't have enough money.
yes, I do. That's not even $600 right there. 280, those 280s, 560. The horn drivers, only 230.
So
That's
that'd be
790, and then another 170.
And you got the horn in there as well?
I might have forgot the horn. Just, you know what? Don't worry about the horn. What the horn's in
price
there.
tag on that horn either.
Peter!
That looks like a manufacturer's website with no price.
Wait a
The,
second. No, it's $160. It's on US speaker.
Okay, interesting.
Wait, let me do the math because you might be right. I might have messed.
Doesn't-
I might have
doesn't
forgot the
matter.
horn.
Right?
No, I want to know now.
I'm keeping
Plus
track.
85 plus 85 equals 565 plus 285. 850 plus 285. It's $1,135. Okay, you know what? Use a coupon. Save yourself 10%.
Oh,
and you will
come
be
on. I would
fine.
have destroyed you if I knew I could cheat.
You're not cheating. Like this is pretty darn on budget. You know what? Use one subwoofer, but the 2 subwoofers is really just going crazy anyway.
Get the second
Yeah.
subwoofer. It's awesome.
I mean, if you can get the other subwoofer for $100, but hey, if not, only go 1 sub, right?
The only thing, and I know size wasn't a constraint in here, if you put those 21s in a horn, that's like 2 horns per speaker, 4 horns in that room. First
So
of all, you're going to have enough SPL to blow your roof off, so that's cool.
I know,
But it's
I know.
going to be huge. I've seen 21-inch horns that go down to 20 hertz. They're massive.
You're going to have
They're-
a 50 cubic foot
So-
speaker for each side.
Yeah, they're
Technically,
huge.
in the horn that I was looking at, supposedly, and I'm not a horn expert. Okay, we've not for horn subwoofers. It was a 3224 by 20 supposedly.
32 feet?
No, 32 inches
Oh,
By 24 by 30.
by 20.
Wow. And it got to 20 hertz? The fold
Supposedly,
length is, yeah. Who knows?
Interesting.
But
it was. But either way, it's all kind of
yeah, it's conceptual. It's fun. That's a cool
Yeah.
design. That's how
And
I
that
would
cool.
use a high efficiency subwoofer too. I would put it in a tapped horn or something like that.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine the output of something like that? That would be like such a fun thing. And the cool thing about that build is technically I have everything I could do to build. Minus, well, I have the TechStream driver instead, but I could basically build one of those. It would be kind of fun to build.
I once experienced 2 21-inch horn loaded subs. They were higher quality than that. They were the B and C. Anyways, doesn't matter. They were all the rage about 10 years ago, and they were in horns. And the SPL is unspeakable. Like it's hard to fathom.
yeah.
Yeah,
that'd
I
be
mean,
great.
technically, you really only need 2. So you could actually. So I'm under budget then.
You're under
if you only
budget.
want
You
one per
just do
speaker.
2.
I'm under budget.
Yeah,
Just do 2.
couple it to put the horn mouth next to the floor. Be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would actually be really. I think it would be a really fun build.
It would be
Kevin
really cool.
Gardner wants you to do a timber match speakers to build out a complete home theater with the Biancos.
Me?
I guess we need to talk to Celestion. Well, you're the one that built the Biancos, right?
Yeah. Is he wanting a center channel? Is that what I'm understanding? I'm sorry, I didn't catch the first part.
And rear surrounds, just a whole home
Oh,
theater
okay.
design.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Well, good. Someone else picked up those plans today. give me some time, and I might work out a whole home theater based around those drivers. I got
Is
to
that
tell
the
you,
cheap? Is that the? Yeah, that would be a cool home theater.
you know, yeah, they're like less than $150 altogether, and they're so much fun. I had them sitting in front of the beautiful Celestion H2Ws for like however long it's been since I posted that video, and I couldn't take them down. I wanted to. I'm like, okay, it's time to put the big boy speakers back on. And I took them down for like a day. I'm like, you know what? I'm putting them back up because I'm running them without subwoofers. They're just a fun little speaker, but yeah, I don't want to go on about myself too much, but they're great. So yeah, give me some time and I might work on that.
Yeah,
let's hear your build.
Let's hear a build. I got more than one build. Let's hear yours.
Yeah,
Let's hear one of yours, Cameron.
You're gonna need a couple builds to outdo me here, so I'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Jeez.
Let's
Any
see.
plans with the new SBL? I might have something coming up, Philip.
All right, are you guys seeing my screen here?
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna start down low.
Oh,
we're
wow.
not holding
love
back
it.
at all. We're coming
I
out of
love
the
it.
gate with an almost $700 subwoofer.
Spend it all on the subs, baby.
Not quite, but almost. This is
Cameron's all about that bass. So what is this? What is this going to go down to? Because like my whole goal with the last one was go down to 20 hertz. I was like, let's go down to 20 hertz and get some crazy.
You're gonna need to talk about room gain if you want to see 20, but this will do 30 in 5.5 cubic or 5.25 cubic feet, which I
Okay,
think
so
is practical.
vented.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think that's
Yeah.
practical to get down to 30, right? And that's going to do 30 with real authority. We're not cheating here by saying 30 hertz.
And depending on what your top half is, you could maybe even do an extended bass shelf.
You could, yeah, and depending on where you're doing placement and things like that, there's a lot of options to get a little lower than that. So you got a 4.5-inch voice coil. This thing is 98 dB efficient for an 18-inch.
That's
subwoofer.
a cool sub.
Yeah.
98.
Yeah.
Give that sucker a watt. You're good.
You're deaf. Don't stand near it with a car bat or with a AA battery. Yeah, I mean that's crazy, right? That's a good foundation, I think. So after that, I want to keep with the efficiency theme. So we're about 5.5 cubic feet. So we got a big bottom heavy kind of pyramidal.
Nice.
Stander. We're gonna go La Voce. I wanted to keep the efficiency really high. This is right in line. This is 98.5 dB sensitive, a couple hundred watts
Nice.
RMS. We're going to cross this over. So we're not worried about the directivity up high because it is an 8-inch mid-range, but it's a true mid-range. This isn't trying to be a woofer. That's what I like about it. So we're going to get a lot of really good efficiency, hopefully some clarity out of it. And then I'm going to cross over. Call me a madman.
Yeah, that's ballsy there.
We're not going to be sending the full program power that these pro woofers are able to handle, but we are going to cross over to this RM Cantus ribbon tweeter. Now,
So you're going to cross over fairly high with this.
Yeah, we are going to cross over fairly high. We're going to protect this baby. And let's see.
That's cool.
We're at 99 dB sensitivity, so we're almost going to have to do very little padding, if any, by the time we put our filters on there. So yeah, I think this would look really cool. Again, I'm picturing the big 18-inch subwoofer. You got your 8-inch mid. This is coming to a nice kind of, I guess, quasi-pyramidal type shape. Yeah, and these would definitely rock the house down. But you know what I really wanted to do with this? I didn't want to just slap a horn on here and make another movie theater speaker like I've been building lately. I wanted to try to kind of preserve that hi-fi top end where all that detail is. Keep the mid-range nice. With a dedicated mid-range driver, but give a little sparkle on top that I think maybe some big that I think maybe some horns might be missing. Some of that.
Like when you do that, do you like go sparkle?
I can't see. Hold on.
Sparkle.
I like your guys' builds. This is
Sparkle.
cool.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
And we
Oh,
come
he
in.
wants to know if you're wearing jorts.
No, I'm not. I'm wearing just running shorts.
This was the question of the night, Brian. Although I should have required a super chat for that one, but that's a great question.
I'll reveal my shorts if
Hold on.
someone super chats.
I'm doing sleeves up in solidarity with Ryan.
I'm going more like this now. I'm hiding myself.
I think
All right, let's do this.
I think it's very interesting that we all went after high sensitivity.
You know,
You don't. I do actually agree with that.
we all went kind of different ways. Like Cameron's got a ribbon, and then you've got this crazy MTM. Well, yeah, woofer MTM or whatever.
Whatever
but
you want to call it. Yeah.
but we all must, at this kind of price point, we all want that high efficiency for some reason. I know the reason, but yeah,
Well,
I think
I
it says
I
something.
want bass, man. Like if I'm gonna spend $1,000, like I want the bass to like just be nice and like I want it controlled and nice too.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like because that's the whole.
bass is important.
Yeah, I technically, if you believe a lot of the, um, studies that have been done, bass is actually one of the most important to most
Oh yeah,
people.
extension is like the second or third thing on tools list.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
crazy. So
it's having been introduced to hi-fi in the 90s, it was all like these really low efficiency dome tweeters and 5-inch woofers and stuff like that. And I don't know why, but people spent a lot of money on those things back then, and even in through the 2000s and 2010s. And I think DIYers are actually ahead of the curve on this and realizing like you get just so much more fidelity when the speaker is relaxed and not, you're not cramming 300 watts through it.
I'd completely agree. And using high efficiency drivers, it's so difficult to go back to contemplating using something that's so hard to drive and doing matching all of your, pairing all your drivers together. I feel so limited whenever I've got to worry about how much I'm going to be padding these things or how little I'll have to
Well-
pad these things down. So it's,
Yeah.
I have a theory on that though.
On
The
what?
theory isn't necessarily what Cameron's saying. The theory isn't necessarily that you have to worry about padding those down and not giving them as much power. Most of the theory comes from when you're DIYing or doing those. People are making the drivers do a lot more, or trying to make the drivers do a lot more than really they're intended to do, which really cuts down on what they can be used for. I don't think there's anything wrong with using, like a dome tweeter, things of those nature, as long as you use them correctly and in a way that they're intended. But a lot of times we'll see people do a 5 or 6 inch woofer, try to get it down to 30, 20 hertz.
yeah.
And
yeah.
maybe that works okay in like a desktop setting or whatever, but then you put it in a living room and you're like expecting
That's distortion
something
city.
different.
Yeah, at any reasonable listening level, you're driving it so hard that your mid-range, if you're in a two-way, is completely muddied by all that excursion. So
And let's not pretend either high efficiency doesn't have its issues, right? High efficiency, if we want to go low, we're looking at much bigger drivers.
yeah, big enclosures often.
Yeah, no,
So-
definitely you need surface
your poison.
area to often achieve that high efficiency.
I think
So go ahead.
I was going to say we're all speaker heads. I know in this household, the size of speakers isn't really a big deal. I can put a 21-inch subwoofer. I can put 2 of them in my living room if I want to. I guess everyone else doesn't have that ability, and so they need these compact, difficult to drive things that will actually extend down to the low 20s. To keep the wife happy or the family happy, whatever the situation is, rather than having almost a 1990s movie theater sitting in their living room with the voice of the theater and everything sitting right in front of you. So
Well, I think what you actually are seeing now is you get two things happening in people's houses. At least maybe I'm biased because this is what's happened in my house. Is you get the living room TV with a stupid Samsung soundbar, so it's even less capable than it was years ago. And then people are building the dedicated TV room, home theater room, whatever it might be, even if they're not like enthusiasts like we are. And they're allowed to, if they're enthusiasts, they'll build some or they'll buy something great. And if they're not, many people still are doing cheesy sound bars and stuff in their dedicated room. So I think actually that kind of mid-sized hi-fi speaker is disappearing. I don't see them much anymore.
So I want to talk about what Brian Rollerson said. He said it'll look like an old school monkey coffin. So I think he's talking about basically your design. This is one of the things with the $1,000 speaker that we should really talk about. If you're going to put $1,000 into a speaker of any design, you should really also pay attention to what the cabinet looks like. It should look a lot more high end than like a basic speaker, in my opinion. If it looks like a monkey coffin and it has $1,000 worth of drivers in it, then I think you did something wrong. And the reason why I say that is someone should look at your $1,000 build and think it's going to be like a $10,000 buy. I've always felt that. Like if you're going to build something and you have the ability to build it, not only should it sound great, but it should also look great.
It's
Now,
tough
I know
to do.
I-
Tough to do.
It is, yeah. Finishing is almost certainly the most difficult part, at least if you're talking about getting it on a professional level. If you're talking about spraying lacquer to a mirror finish and polishing it, you know,
Yeah, it's tough.
there's so much work and practice that goes into that.
But offer different shapes, you know, make it a triangle, do like different whatever. I mean, you can do it. Like I'm not saying like you have to go crazy. Like for example, like if I were to build my woofer MTM, right? I would make the woofers much wider and fatter, and then come up to the mid and tweeter mid section, and then back out to the woofer and woofer, and then probably put some compound chamfers like in the parts to make it have depth and dimensionality, and then on the sides even to make it look nice, I'd probably put some type of designs or maybe a carbon fiber inlay, and it can even be like just something that, you know, like you could, like a sheet, like a sticker or whatever, you know, it doesn't have to be true carbon fiber, but something to just make it offset and look nice. It can't, in my opinion, like if we're spending this much money on our drivers, it should also look,
Should reflect that. Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny you say that because I was actually thinking about this before we decided on this topic several days ago, and I've thought about this a lot. There's a reel or a short video, TikTok style video that floats around on YouTube on one of these audiophile channels, and it's almost exactly what Nick kind of described. It's all out. They're probably $50,000 or $100,000 speakers, but it's a big 18 or 15-inch woofer, hi-fi woofers, so inefficient woofers, big woofers, and these WWMM T. Yeah, so it's a big over-the-top build.
Which is what I wanted to do, but we really don't have the budget for it.
And it's crazy, but I'll tell you, it's beautiful, and the proportions are all right, but you've got this huge cabinet, and it goes deep, and it kind of tapers in and kind of does almost an hourglass type shape, but with harder lines. What I think every time I see this speaker is, okay, so it's the depth and everything is dominated by the volume that these subwoofers need. But if you've got these small mid-range drivers, you have almost,
the whole
several
cabinet.
feet of cabinet, and all that depth is just void.
Right.
As a DIYer, I'm too practical to build all of this thing with so much.
Not necessarily. That could be volume for the subwoofer.
It could be. They almost look segmented, and they're so large that, in my opinion, they would have to be taken apart to be able to be moved around with any efficiency and upstairs or through a doorway and that kind of thing. But maybe you're right. Maybe it's even more volume than the subwoofer portion looks like it is, and it's actually, using all of that. I hadn't thought of that.
I mean, that's really the smart thing to do. I mean, when you look at like a three-way, like for example, we saw Ryan show us his Celestion, like he didn't show us his Celestion build, but he just showed us a box. That's all for the woofer.
Right.
The whole thing's for the woofer because the mid-range is sealed and the tweeter is sealed. So whatever box he has is just for the woofer. Even though technically it looks like it's for all the drivers, it's really not.
Yeah, that's true of most builds, frankly. Ryan, by the way, I'm curious, what was the compression driver that you used that was more expensive, if you recall the model?
Oh, well, it was a JBL 4-inch diaphragm, 2-inch exit, 2226J, or is that the woofer? And anyways, this particular person who I helped with, they purchased beryllium diaphragms for it. So it was like it was like a $500 CD and then another $500 diaphragm.
And don't break the diaphragm dropping it in. Right?
he had me put them in.
It's honestly pretty easy on a compression driver, but
yeah, it was super easy.
Which
Here's
made
one.
me nervous.
Here's one for you. This
Which one is
I'm going to show you. It's a BNC.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
DCX464. Look it up. I don't know how much it costs.
It's huge. Is it coaxial or is that a single
It
diaphragm?
is.
Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's nice. I would love to try one of those coaxials. I looked
Well,
at that.
too bad.
tonight,
It's
but-
$680.
Wow.
Maybe when I'm
Yeah.
done with it, I can ship it to you. But you got to ship it back.
That's the thing, though. I looked at some of the compression coaxials, but still, the larger diaphragm is just about the same as a typical diaphragm. So it's not like you're able to cross super low with them. And so
This particular one with the beryllium in it, I was amazed by the high frequencies. Like it sold me on beryllium like you wouldn't believe. It didn't leave me
Interesting.
lacking at all. And so the coaxial that BNC brought out shortly after I had used this, I looked at it and I was super excited about it, but I'm like, I wonder if the beryllium would actually be better than this. And then you don't have the crossover and any other issues that a coaxial introduces. So
right.
it's tough
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah, JBL, they are not shy about asking what they think their drivers are worth, unfortunately.
No.
So
I'd love to
Blake-
use some of their woofers.
Blake has a great idea, and this is one of the things I was playing around with, and I really want to do that with the first subwoofers that I showed you guys, the PSS
Oh, yeah, yeah.
5555.
The
Problem
21.
is they don't go low enough. But I think that's the right way to do it. Like if you could get two subwoofers at a decent price, do dual opposed. And that's actually what I wanted to do originally is dual opposed and then do like an MTM on top.
Yeah, like
And I
dual
did find a
opposed.
couple ways to do that, but it just wasn't what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, those PSS 555s, they want quite a bit of volume too. So it'd be a pretty bottom heavy speaker. But a couple 12-inch subwoofers, I think, are like kind of the sweet spot for some kind of dual opposed design like that.
Nah, 15. I think 15 is the way to go with it. Dual 15s. Do like something like the Dayton HO.
Oh yeah,
What is the Dayton HO? How much does that go for now?
a couple $100, 300.
15-inch goes for $260. It's basically you could do that. That's $500. Let's just say $500. Make it easy. $500, and you have $500 for an MTM on top. Like that would be excellent. I think you could do. Actually, you could do that with what I just said. The two Celestions and all that. You could do that.
Okay,
That
interesting.
should be what 160 plus. I don't know. It was like 235 plus 170. That's 565. Well, you're a little bit over, but
Again,
you're about $60. It's not like crazy. Just Parts Express has sales all the time. Just use their
I knew that was coming.
So
10% off. Use my coupon code for 5% off, and
there
you're
you
there.
go. You mind if I share another one since we're talking
Yeah,
about
please do.
Smaller speakers and we're talking about high efficiency?
Are you going for no? You cannot show another two-way. You got something other than a two-way, right?
Well, it's kind of a three-way.
Well, let's see it. Let's see it. I want to
Kind
but it-
of a three. It's a 2.5-way.
I got two other speakers I could share with you, but I'm gonna share.
All right, let's see.
I'm gonna
it.
share this low efficiency driver here. The first time I heard a slit cone revelator was in the early 2000s in a Totem acoustic speaker, and
Those are nice.
I was just so blown away. Like I was kind of young and dumb, and I don't know if it actually sounded good, but I couldn't believe it. And I've been in love with these drivers ever since, even though I've never used one. So I just had to try out one of these. I picked a 7-inch, so pretty decent size.
Yeah.
And then, so it certainly looks like a two-way, but don't worry,
So
I'm going to add some.
$250.
Oh,
You're gonna
yeah,
add
get
one
the-
sub.
get the-
You're gonna add one subwoofer to this thing. It's gonna be a
Get the-
2.1 setup. I know it. All right. Look, it is. He's already like he's smiling because he knows it is. All right, let's see the tweet.
Oh wow.
This is
wow. Beryllium.
ridiculously
Jeez.
expensive. Well, we were just talking about smaller speakers, inefficient speakers, and beryllium, and that just is how I had this all lined up. It just worked out that way. I guess maybe it was on my mind, but
That's cool.
I would love to try this tweeter. It's probably overpriced because of the beryllium. I don't know if it's worth it, but I do like a dome tweeter in a waveguide. I really like this, and it's pretty much the same diameter as that revelator, so I think
Can
it would
I-
look kind of cool.
That would look cool. Can I tell you something?
But
I mean, I don't know if this is true because I've never actually heard a beryllium, But I talked to Eminence because Eminence came out with their TechStream driver, and they actually did like listening tests, waterfall graphs, etc. Because the whole thing with Beryllium is that, you know, it starts and stops so good, it should be a good waterfall. They said the TechStream was right up there, just as pretty much just as good, but significantly less. So I wonder, like, if you wanted to save some money, if you went with something like a
I'd love to try
TechStream.
their technology.
'Cause
Yeah.
I think the TechStream's like, well, SB does it, and I think it's like 270-ish. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
So
But I
that
want to
brings-
see what else here. 750.
Well, that brings me to 750 a speaker. So then I would just simply add a $250 subwoofer. I'd love to get another pair of Ultimax 18s, but they'd blow the budget. So maybe like
Well,
some,
you could do one.
yeah, you could do one, but the more subs is better. I'd almost rather do like 3 $200 subwoofers
Well,
or something.
Like Nick was just talking about, those HO or the HE, do they still have the high excursion? I mean, you can do a
That's
10
cool.
or 12 and, you know, a couple of those
Yeah.
around the room.
No, they don't sound not with like those nice of drivers. Like, you gotta do something nice. Or you could do. Well, what about the 15s? Are they?
Yeah, maybe. The subwoofer problem is easy. You just basically set your budget, find something with, you know, decent X Max, and yeah.
Look,
Hide it
I would
somewhere.
say just go with the Ultimax 15. It's 290. It's within your budget-ish.
Well,
close.
well, if I went with a single, I could get the 18. It would still be in my budget. I got $500 to buy subwoofers.
I mean,
No, I
really?
know. I'm saying just get two 15s.
I'll
You're
get two
like-
of them. Yeah.
Yeah, or you
Yeah.
could go with the MX 15. It's a little cheaper because they use a stamped steel frame versus the.
You're such a tempter
cast
to
frame.
go over budget, you know. Just
Well,
everything-
this-
you're always just
wait.
pushing it over the line a little bit.
The MX 15 though is $250.
There
So
you
you
go.
could get two of those.
Two of those.
And they're amazing, like, you know, for what they
Yeah.
are. So two
Or even,
MX
like,
15s.
Even some car audio ones. I know people maybe, especially with Revelator woofers and the Satori Beryllium tweeter, to buy like Scar Audio 18s or something. But I
Could you
mean, hey,
imagine?
from 80
Someone's
hertz and
doing it
down
somewhere in
or
the
60
world.
hertz and down, like, I mean, big deal.
Especially at the low power that you're going to be sending that thing, you're not going to be running for SPL. So distortion, I feel like, is probably less of a factor
Yeah.
there.
I think that setup there that I just showed would sound incredible at lower volumes, and especially if you're space limited but funds are abundant. You know, you could build that thing into something that's like not even 2 feet tall, like some kind of satellite thing on stands, or maybe it'd be in a taller tower. Who knows? You could port it, and I think
Yeah.
it'd be really cool, actually. But
Well, we kind of went in the same sort of direction. And by the way, we didn't like categorize or mandate that we had to do a floor stand or bookshelf or high efficiency. We just said, let's do several designs with this budget. But I kind of went down the same road for my next design. Really kind of the same philosophy. I won't be running Scar subwoofers with mine, but very, very similar. Let me
show
go
it
ahead
to
and
us.
share
Let
this.
me know when you share the screen.
Okay.
All right.
All right. We're taking a trip to Seos for
Ooh.
this design.
Seos. I just say C's.
Is
Yeah,
it?
so do I.
I don't know.
We don't
I don't know
know.
what it is.
I think it's Seos. We can't do the Italian
Okay.
gesture for this. I don't know where Seos is from.
That is such a beautiful woofer.
It
Oh,
is. I mean, and look at the phase plug, the magnesium just
You better not
shining
put
light.
grills on this one.
Yeah, I love the low profile basket. I love just everything about this is just screams quality, and at least aesthetically, this will work really well. This will get us down to 35 hertz and 1.5 cubic feet. I think that's pretty reasonable sized enclosure for what is going to be a two-way bookshelf speaker. So for this, we're going to go with the matching
Oh my goodness.
tweeter by Seos, the Millennium tweeter.
Wow.
And so here's kind of my thinking is I honestly, I know I talked about here the reasonable size 1.5 cubic foot. I think what I would do with this type of budget is honestly, I would do the sealed. We get an F3 of 65 hertz, which I think is perfect for crossing over to a subwoofer, a quality subwoofer. Now, I don't have that in the budget for this, But let's get some really good quality subwoofers in the room, or say we've already got them. I'm going to run this sealed. I'm not going to let this thing here. I'm not going to try to send any bass to this guy.
Wow.
And we're going to do a mid-range focused build. Who wants to hear the mid-range and the treble? And that's what I'd do with this. I'd buy really, really nice crossover parts where I think for once you might be able to hear a difference in parts quality, if ever. And that's kind of that's the direction that I would take this. And I say all that because, I haven't done anything. It's tough to get all the parts in and decide that you're going to build a sealed speaker and compromise your low end output. So I just haven't done it in a really long time. But I think for something like this, I might set out with doing that in mind. So that's
I
what
would love to do a build like that.
Yeah. And I don't want to stress it. They're really nice drivers. I don't want my two-way with a $500 woofer trying to play 30 hertz, despite the fact that it can. They say it'll do 35 hertz in 1.5 cubic feet. I want to let it not break a sweat, like cross it over at like 60, 70, 80 hertz to a big subwoofer. The imaging on those would be crazy. They'd be so compact, half a cubic foot. So
that'd be fun. I'd love to do something like that. Yeah.
By the way, guys,
All
we're
right,
getting a severe thunderstorm here, and in Texas, our power goes out if you blow on the power line. So if I have blacked out on you, that's where I've gone.
We'll just keep going without you.
Please do.
In memory of Cameron.
Can I?
Do you think a Pile P330 Pile receiver is good? No.
If you haven't already bought it, don't.
Yeah, don't.
If you're
Pile is known for being pile of crap.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
there's a pile of something. I will say this. If it's given to you, don't take it.
it's brutal.
I haven't actually looked up that model though, Ryder. Like, I don't know.
It's not.
They have
not
a
good.
history, like a 50-year history of building piles of crap.
Yeah.
So they're
And
cheap.
getting someone to buy it somehow. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah,
They OEM a lot of stuff.
Well,
and
they
use
say like 3 billion watts for $100. You're like, oh.
it's the dishonest marketing wins every time, especially on the low end.
All right, I have a thought process I'd like to run with you guys. All right, let me pull up the speaker. I want us to build and design a speaker within our budget, but I want to start with the first driver. Okay, and then I want to see where you guys think you would pair it with.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. All right.
So let's share the screen.
Is it a pile?
No, it's a pile of awesomeness. All right. It's an SB Audience. This is one of their new open baffle drivers. It's a 15-inch woofer open baffle.
So it's got a high Q.
Oh, yeah. Well,
That's
I would
my
imagine.
guess.
They're designed specifically for open baffle. Supposedly, a lot of
it's
people
not
have
that
had
high.
very high success using these, though. I actually, for some reason, can't. Oh, there it is. Yeah, actually, it's not a high Q at all.
It's not that high, surprisingly.
Yeah, I would have
High
expected
X-Max?
it to be 1 or something.
It's got a lot of X.
11. Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite
And
a
it-
bit for a pro driver.
And it's high efficiency, 98 decibels sensitive. So, if we were going to do $1,000 open baffle build, which none of
No.
us designed, open baffle build, what would we pair it with? A mid and a tweeter, preferably. I don't know if they actually sell any. No,
Oh,
they
I
just
need-
have a 12-inch and 15-inch open baffle.
I'd go with 2 mids. I'd use the Eminence Alpha 8 because I believe it's high Q, and probably I can't think of what a good like 3 or 4-inch mid would be. And then
And they won't be that one won't actually use very much of anything because it's not going to be very much of the bandwidth, I would imagine.
What do you mean?
The 3 or 4-inch driver. The 3 or 4-inch driver is probably not going to be much bandwidth, so it's probably, and the higher you go up in bandwidth, the more less we're concerned about it. Yeah.
I mean, it's just got to be something like maybe Tangband or Peerless makes a little 3 or 4-inch driver with a good surround.
But don't we want to keep the sensitivity pretty high though?
No, not as you move up. Not as you move up. Open baffle is such a strange thing. Like I would never do one that isn't 4-way or higher. And I would keep the baffle as narrow as possible. So it's going to be, what size was that open baffle woofer?
15-inch.
Yeah, so it's going to be like a 16-inch baffle, and then it's going to go like this down to the eminence, and then like this. Who's that guy? John something.
Yeah,
There's
John.
this guy that
What-
John.
There's only one John.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
only one John. I'm sorry, that sounds so
Oh,
stupid.
Cameron's gone. Cameron's gone.
Oh, no!
Cameron, we lost you. Oh wait, he's back. He's back.
Oh, his power's
I
going in and out.
guys, I didn't think that I would. I didn't even consider that I don't have lighting now.
Oh
Hey,
no!
hey, who cares? Well, just shut off your camera.
So
we're
you're
not
on?
mind
Are you on
assisting to.
laptop battery?
Yeah, I'm on my laptop and I'm using my phone's hotspot now. So
Wow.
Dang! Wow.
no more than 30 seconds
dedicated.
after I told you guys that.
Oh man, that sucks.
I look like a ghoul
Well,
now.
hopefully your AC is like nice and cool.
It's only a crisp
So
100
I'm
down.
gonna mention an idea that I saw done, and this is like a real speaker that's been done. And I agree with you, by the way. I'd want it to be 3-way or whatever. But there was a company, and I cannot think of the company, but someone will probably know it, and they'll probably tell us in the chat section, that used two Eminence 15-inch woofers. They did dual at the bottom. Now, I do not know if they were 2.5-way, which I would imagine they were. And then on the top end, instead of using a mid, they just used a Peerless Corundum tweeter, which can cross over very low. I doubt it was John Hayes.
It wasn't him. I'll look it up.
Yeah. But yeah, he used a Peerless Corundum tweeter at the top. And then basically, I'm assuming it's a 2.5-way, but they were very expensive and very well sought out. So I could see something like that. It would easily fit within budget. I mean, those Bianco woofers are cheap. They're only $160 each.
Oh
You're
wow!
like at $300. And then a Peerless Corundum's, I don't know, 100 and some. You're like at like 460. And then throw a good subwoofer in there. You know? Heck, if you did, yeah, I mean, heck, you could get two 18-inch. No, you know what? If I had $500 for a subwoofer, forget it. I'm not going with the 18-inch Ultimax. I'm going with the 21-inch Rosso by SB Audience. Yeah, the 21-inch Rosso, easily in room. You'll get down to single digits in room. I get down to easily single digits in my room with dual 21 inches. They're $500 each. In fact, I did a couple builds we didn't talk about that used one of those in each one because I know that two of those can easily fill up a room and get you crazy low extension. And then you can use your tower speakers for everything, right? Use them for music. You can use them for movies, whatever you want.
Yeah. What was your? Because I was cut out here. What was your criteria? You were showing us the SB Audience woofer, and you were wanting us to select the top end.
I'll just design an open baffle using it. But we kind of talked about it. If you have something that you want to share an idea,
No,
like we
that's
were
a
just saying.
challenge. Yeah, that's tough. I might do
that
a
is
full
tough.
range driver, like to keep it the theme open back. A small full range driver, try to avoid
That's
some of the
interesting
cone
idea.
breakup. But I'm just thinking to try to keep it open baffle. The issue I see with open baffle so much is that it's only the worst part of open baffle in that it's the bass, which is like, let's do the worst bass possible and then let's use sealed drivers for the horn. And so I'm not like,
Well,
I'm
you
downing open
can-
baffle as a concept. I just mean like you want to do open baffle for the openness and airiness and that kind of thing that you always hear about, but it's like you're using closed back mid-range and tweeters. So
No, you can get open back tweeters, especially if you go with something like a ribbon or something.
that's true. Yeah. And you can remove the back off of a lot of ribbons too. I see that done on the open baffle forum. So
Yeah, I mean, and with that being so cheap, I think that would be a really cool. Like if someone wanted even to do a budget open baffle build, I think that's a good one to start with. Start with a $160 build and go from there. I would love to see someone do dual 15s and open baffle 2.5-way to help with the bass.
that
Right.
would be cool.
And then
WW in an open baffle configuration.
yeah, I mean it's only $320 per speaker for the two 15s, and then whatever you want to do on the top end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think open baffle is very promising, especially if you're sensitive to room reflections, but it takes a lot of work to do it properly. A lot of work.
I think Dodgy Brothers Engineering is a little bit confused with what Cameron was saying. He's saying what a lot of people will do is they'll make the bottom end open baffle, but then their tweeter will be closed. And that's true for a lot of open baffle speaker designs, even commercial available open baffle speaker designs. Up to the tweeter is open, and then the tweeter will be sealed. And that's because, like Cameron said, most tweeters are.
Yeah, there just
Already
aren't
in a
many
sealed
dipole options for tweeters.
And I'm not trying to gatekeep what is or isn't open baffle either. Like if you want to call any design open baffle, be my guest. I just, in terms of what the actual benefits are and what you're getting out of it, I feel like choosing to do open baffle based and then having everything else closed is an odd choice, at least for me.
Well, technically, what you could do too is if that was like your main concern, you could do a rear firing tweeter along with a front firing tweeter.
Yeah. Have either of you ever used an ambient kind of rear firing tweeter in anything? Have you ever
No.
heard one?
Yes.
Interesting. I don't think that I have.
They just
Definitive
introduced so many-
Technology.
Yeah,
Have you
mostly
heard-
in the commercial space, I've heard it.
I haven't heard Definitive Technology in person. No.
Here's an interesting fact with Definitive Technology. They tell you not to use room correction. At least they used to. I don't know if they still do. Because with the way that they have their arrangement, room correction doesn't know what to do with it. It's like, I don't know how to adjust for this. And so it just messes it up. They're like, use it to get your distances, but then...
Interesting.
I'm not a fan of
Yeah.
the idea. I'm really not using two tweeters like that.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of complication that you're adding into the equation, especially when we don't know what people's rooms are going to look like and how they're going to be acoustically or not acoustically treated. It seems like a big risk.
Generally, I'm trying to limit room reflections, right? So
Yeah.
to pay money
To
put it
introduce them
on, yeah, I'm like,
out
no,
of phase.
I don't want that. I
Yeah.
don't. That's why open baffle is great because of that figure 8 output, right? So all
Yeah.
that stuff to the sides is just it's canceled out.
Yeah.
Waveguides, horns, great. You know, your constant directivity. You're limiting your horizontal splash on the room, and I like that. So
You know, I made what I consider the world's smallest open baffle speakers on the channel.
Yeah, I know which ones.
They're like little tiny like 2-inch BMRs, and the Dayton tweeter, right? It's
I can't remember the name.
I don't know, they're like $7. They're like
Yeah.
a ribbon or an AMT, or I can't remember actually what it's considered. And it actually sounded surprisingly well for what it was. It surprised me I was like, oh, this is not bad. Now, granted, you know, it's, you know, this big, and it's so you got to tamper expectations. But
I think that'd be
was like,
really
oh.
cool to have as like a novelty kind of desktop speaker, though. Unless I'm
Yeah.
doing monitoring for a video or something, I don't care what's coming out of my computer speaker. So I think for that, it's like a perfect application.
But you absolutely have to DSP those, because otherwise it makes no sense. Like, why have a huge crossover somewhere?
That's true. The crossover parts are not miniature.
yeah,
No. We're ending up. We only have like
Yeah.
a minute left. So I did want to say this. I thought it was crazy because we all did more of the high efficiencies, and there's two drivers that I thought we would pick that neither one of us did, or none of us did. Actually, I had a design that we didn't really go over, but the Satori TechStream drivers I thought would be really cool, or the SB Acoustics TechStream drivers. So using a tweeter and a mid-range. If you do that, you know, if you use a 6-inch like Satori TechStream, you're about $310. I'm sorry, I think it's SB Acoustic. The TechStream tweeter is about $280. So you're right there at like $490, and then you can still add
I
a
don't know those. I'll have
21-inch
to look them
Rosso
up.
Yeah.
subwoofer.
I
Yeah,
like
actually,
that. I really like that idea, Nick. I mean, I think that would kind of be a perfect kind of end game type of build for someone. A big 21 with those nice mid-range and tweeter.
Yeah, I think you would have like a great, and it doesn't even have to all be one speaker, right? Like it can be like a separate subwoofer from the particular drivers, right? Like you don't have to be like, oh, hey. So here, let me share my screen. I'll show you those real quick since you've never seen them, Ryan. Share. So this is the TechStream tweeter. This is one of them. They have a bunch of TechStream tweeters. So I just picked
Wow,
one. They're all
that's
about the
a lot of
$270.
money.
Well, kind of, but when we're in $1,000 budget, right?
Yeah.
$271 isn't that bad. And then the 6-inch woofer is about $310.
Oh, that's a very
you're-
cool looking woofer. I think
Yeah.
I have seen that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
Basket is
Brian,
just like-
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's just beautiful. I really don't have words to describe it. It's just so elegant and like purposeful and intentional. Like the way they just decided to make it aesthetically pleasing. It's just a beautiful driver.
And the TechStream has a very unique sound. When you hear it, you know, and it sounds beautiful. So they really are a really cool sounding speaker. Look, you could actually buy a 2.5 way for $4,000 per. That's a
Not too
pair.
bad.
Or you could just design your own for a little bit cheaper. So yeah, so you're right around the $300 mark for whatever. I wanted a 6-inch. I thought the 6-inch was good, and but if you look up TechStream on Matty Sound, they have a bunch of different drivers. What I did find to be interesting is that, like I said, most of us chose those high efficiency over these style. But I think this is definitely something. And if someone even wanted to spend only around $600 a pair of speakers, like even just a 2-way, those would be really cool.
Yeah, yeah,
They
that is
would.
cool.
It'll be a while, or Matasound's going to have to send me, or SB Acoustics is going to have to send me some of those before I just go building them. But I would love to, I would love to one day.
I did have another build I didn't share that used the Bema TPL 150. If people know what that is.
Yeah. What
I
do you
would
think of
Very
it? Well,
expensive. I've never even seen one in real life, and I've always wanted to. So that was on my list. I pick things that I've always wanted to use. It seems like, but it's true. So
Yeah,
How much is it? It's like $580 or like $600 somewhere. in that range, right?
$600 or something on US speaker.
And that's a ribbon tweeter.
Yeah, it's like a. Is it a planer or a ribbon?
Oh,
I think
well,
it's-
either one. Yeah.
yeah. I'm not sure on the specifics.
I think it's a ribbon.
Magic 60. Yeah, Morel is like if you sort by high, Morel's always ranking up there. My
And
suspicion-
Purify. I was actually surprised none of us
Yeah.
used Purify, actually.
Yeah, I looked at some. Yeah.
I have a suspicion that Morel is just like that's the I don't really want to make it and sell it price for a lot of their stuff. I'm not saying some of their drivers aren't really, really nice quality, really well engineered, but when like 90% of the first page of sorted by high is dominated by Morel, I feel like they're
They're a little overpriced.
I feel like they're just highly inflated on their pricing. Like all your stuff can't be that good. Why are you making 5 different 6-inch mid-range drivers that are all $500? So
You know, I feel like Purify, though, the reason why none of us chose Purify is because most of us actually had bigger speaker builds. And Purify, really, the midwoofer really excels when you kind of just want to do like a small 2-way
yeah,
to a large degree.
That's true.
And we just kind of didn't go there. But I think if we had limited size, like if we limited it to like a smaller speaker, I think you would have seen probably all of us use Purify.
yeah, definitely in consideration. Yeah. But honestly, it's kind of unoriginal for us to just throw that out there because in DIY, everyone is using Purify because they're so good and because they're so reliable, especially like Nick said, for small applications that I wanted to
All
try
right,
to avoid it.
Before we go, we're going to mention what we did, but I want to know, after everything that we talked about, have any of you changed your minds on what you would do with the $1,000? Are you still pretty much, I think this is kind of what I would do, or what are you thinking?
I honestly, go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was gonna say I might try to do something like you did, Nick, with a horn woofer or something. Try to get mine into a 3-way, and build a sub, with my high efficiency, and use a horn sub.
Interesting.
Go
I
ahead.
really
What about
like.
you, Cameron.
Yeah, I'm tooting my own horn, but I really liked both of mine. I was kind of like like we talked about, I was all over the place with paralysis and deciding. Once I decided on them, I was like, you know what? I might build one of these one day soon. So we'll see.
No, I think that's great. It's just funny how you said it. I have no problem. Honestly, I liked what I did too. I like the idea of like a really cool horn loaded subwoofer in a 3-way, like crazy big, just dominating your room. If I wanted smaller though, I'd probably go with something like Ryan chose because I like the idea of the smaller 2-ways as well.
Yeah. I liked all y'all's designs. They were all
But
pretty interesting.
the only ones I didn't like was the guy who's tooting his own horn. I just kidding. Yours are awesome.
I'm all sad in the dark over here now.
It's kind of crazy though. All of us did something a little bit different with that money. It's pretty interesting to see that. All right, guys. So we're at the end of the show. We always talk about what's coming up on our channel. So I'm going to start this time because I don't really start very often.
Go for it.
I just put a video out yesterday. I would really appreciate if any one of you guys are watching to watch it and comment on it. It would be really nice if you commented on it as well, just so I know that I'm doing something right. It is about projectors, but I do feel like most people with good audio want something cool to watch. It is on Amazon Prime Day. It is Amazon Prime Day going on. And I did a deal where basically I picked a projector at every budget and told you which one I think is the best at every budget. So $100, $250, then I jumped up to $1,000, I think, and then $1,500, and then $2,500. And I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts as well, or if there's something that you think is better. I mean, hey, maybe it's one I haven't reviewed, but I have reviewed so many projectors now. I feel like I've got a pretty good understanding of what's good to buy and what's not. I also have a nothing projector screen video coming out, and I have a whole bunch of projector videos coming out. I don't have, and someone's asking about updates on the Chiari build. I don't have any updates on mine, but maybe the other guys will. All right, guys. What about you guys? What else you guys got coming on and coming up? I'm actually really excited about my videos.
Did you say me, Ryan?
Yeah, go ahead, Cameron.
Man, it's been a busy week, but I am, like I said last week, I'm going to work on a crossover schematic assembly reading kind of video. Just kind of all over crossover basics, not necessarily design. That's its own can of worms, but at a bare minimum, I'm going to try to teach beginners how to read a crossover diagram, maybe assemble some parts, do a little bit of basic soldering, that kind of thing. Other than that, yeah, I'm honestly chipping away at my Chiari build. In terms of what I've got my hands dirty with, it's that right now. I do have some other ideas kicking around. No surprise, some really, really big high efficiency builds, maybe like a really big budget build. So keep an eye out for that in the coming weeks. That's all I got. What about you, Ryan?
For me, it's the Chiari build. I've built the boxes. I haven't done a finish on them. I don't know if I'll get to. I have measured them outside and gone through all the crossover design, and I've ordered crossover parts because I don't have my crossover parts with me. So I actually ordered every piece. It was like, oh, crossover parts cost a lot nowadays.
They do, yes.
Yeah, it's been like 6 years since I've ordered parts. So
couple $100
Ryan's
for a 3-way.
Ryan, his wife's coming in. Why doesn't our refrigerator work? Well, I needed an inductor.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what size capacitor that is?
My AC's got a big capacitor in it.
I got those coming, and you know what? The drivers, I'm so far, without having listened to them as a speaker, I'm very happy with how they're measuring and everything. Getting the crossover to gel on paper or on a computer was not simple. 3-ways are usually tough, but this one actually, for me, it liked really relaxed slopes, like second order slopes. So we'll see how that goes.
I mean, it's that down right now.
Yeah.
Second order slopes.
It's perfectly capable of doing that because it is a 3-way and all the drivers kind of make sense for that. So I'm actually really excited to hear that because, quality drivers, 3-way, lots of overlap on the crossovers and everything. So yes, Jason has a bunch of my crossover parts. So, hey, Jason, I'm going to be there at the end of this month. So I might come over and raid your basement.
Hey, are you, oh, never mind. I'll ask you later. All right.
Okay. That's it. Chiari.
Oh, that's everyone. Yeah. All right, guys.